With the 16th selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seahawks have picked Byron Murphy. Texas defensive tackle will be taken with the 16th overall selection by your Seattle Seahawks. One of the best, if not the best, defensive tackles in this draft. The Seattle Seahawks didn't have to think about this one. They had 5 minutes left to go on the clock, and they said, no, this is going to be our guy. And this was reported even coming back into yesterday, where there were reports coming out saying that he had been told that he would not make it past 16. This report indeed does seem to be true now, that they didn't wait any time. They weren't waiting there for offers that they could get in. They trusted their evaluation of this kid, his upside, and what he could be at the pro level. He is a defensive tackle, 3-tech, so not a nose tackle, a 3-tech defensive tackle. He is a penetrator. He is a guy that can also be very stout against the run. He is about 6 foot plus tall. He's not necessarily super long armed, but he is very good at using and winning the leverage war at his size. He understands how to take that explosiveness and that natural leverage win that he often gets, being the low man versus the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", offensive lineman he's going across, and he's going to win that battle. And then what he has is a lot of moves that he can call upon then within his chops and rips and swim moves to then get around as he first really challenges those offensive linemen to get lateral. That's a big part of his game. And what you'll watch with him tonight as you guys are watching the highlights is you watch a guy who gets off of the ball in a unique way for defensive tackles. Most of the time, they're either going to be 2-gapping or they're going to be 1-gapping. Attack a shoulder or root down strong and try to control the point of attack. And what you get with this guy is he comes off the line of scrimmage and he'll 1-gap at times, but he's going to stutter step his 1-gapping. And so he comes off the ball and you're going to see this guy doing a little bit of this head movement like he's a running back. And this is a little bit of his running back, theoretically, background kind of coming from, if you trace him back a little bit. And defensive tackles don't tend to have that kind of internal bounce like that. And what it causes the interior offensive lineman to do is sway back and forth over the early part of the play as they're trying to key up Byron Murphy and get a good block on him. But at the same time, he's weaving back and forth and they're just challenged to try to stay with him. And when he feels like he's got him in a direction where they're too far this way and he can get back that other way, then he's crossing the face and getting past him. So not your typical 3-tech defensive tackle in there in the way that he does that, but he's very effective at it. It may have been part of the draw from the Seattle Seahawks standpoint to pull them over to him and say, this is our guy, because we don't see this kind of skill set from interior defensive linemen very often. But you can trust that they trusted in this evaluation. You may not like this pick or wish they had gone with an offensive lineman or a different direction, but the fact that there were still 5 minutes waiting on that clock and you have a guy in John Schneider who has so heartedly wanted to always trade back, and yet he just threw all the trade cards out the window the second he had this pick come up on the board. He sat there and watched in this first round 14 of the 15 picks be offensive players, and he said, I'm going to be able to get the best defensive tackle in this entire draft. I'm not going to overthink that. And whereas I don't have the same evaluation on Byron Murphy of believing in necessarily to be picked this high, I can understand how they trust in their evaluation and why they see it as a good pick. And it's hard to shake a finger at it when you look at this pick and you understand, hey, he's going to be a fit to this defense and what this defense needs. You don't know what the long-term is going to be there with Draymond Jones. Leonard Williams is a guy now into his 30s. So how much are you going to be really trying to put so much of a heaping portion of the load on him at all times, needing to instead kind of balance that through? And it's a guy that they trust in, who I would say, I don't want to speak for John on this, but they would say this guy's got star potential. We have that outlook on him. I'm sure they'll say a top 10 first round grade in this draft if they can get it from that. And they'll say that's just too hard for us to pass on. I wouldn't even be the least bit surprised. I've told you guys that I've got kind of the blue chip grades on some of these guys, and that helps to determine where you want to pick those guys versus trading back. It wouldn't shock me in the least to find that they had a blue chip grade on Byron Murphy, that they liked him that much. When you read in NFL circles, there seemed like there were certain NFL teams that were really hot to trot on this guy and really saw him as a guy that was being undervalued in the way that some of the other NFL teams, I think, were looking at him. And so he is a guy that comes in 3-tech. He'll give you some pass rush. He can play against the run. He was highly rated by PFF in those departments last year. He is a little undersized, and that part is a little bit worrisome. As I said, too, he's not your pure explosive first-step quickness, just fly up the field, but he's really athletic for his size, his lateral movement and his bounce and that stutter step that he can bring, and then he's got some tools in his toolkit as far as hand usage goes. He's not completely absent of that like some other players are. Chop Robinson, for instance, out of Penn State, doesn't know how to use his hands at all. This kid is very good about understanding how to use his hands and off of those early leverage wins, especially. So if you're looking for a place that I'm going to poo-poo this pick or say that this isn't the one that was a fantastic pick by the Seahawks, I will not. You got to the 16th selection and got the best player at a given position in a draft at a position that's going to help you get better where you've been very weak. We have not been able to stop the run. We've not been real, lethal on the defensive line in the last couple of years. This is another firm step to help take you towards that direction. It won't fix everything overnight in itself. It just helps you get a little bit more firmer into that direction. So I love this pick. Fantastic job by the Seattle Seahawks in this first round, just lying in wait. And I completely get why John said no trading back today. This guy's just so damn good.